Brooklyn Beckham has finally spoken publicly about the long-rumored tension between himself and his famous parents, David and Victoria Beckham, turning years of speculation into an emotional and deeply personal account of distance, control, and boundaries. For a long time, the public only saw fragments of the story through missing family appearances, subtle social media signals, and tabloid whispers. Now, Brooklyn's own words have reshaped the narrative, presenting the conflict as something far more complex than a simple family disagreement. He describes growing up under constant expectations, where his choices, relationships, and even his silence were shaped by forces he felt unable to challenge. According to Brooklyn, staying quiet was once his way of protecting himself and those he loved, but that silence also allowed others to define his story. In his statement, Brooklyn strongly rejects the idea that his wife, Nicola Peltz Beckham, is responsible for the rift. Instead, he frames their marriage as the point where he finally found emotional stability and support, something he says gave him the strength to set limits he had never set before. He portrays his relationship with Nicola as a partnership built on mutual respect, not control, and says that stepping away from family pressure significantly reduced his anxiety. From his perspective, the tension intensified when he chose to prioritize his marriage and personal well-being over long-standing family dynamics. This choice, he suggests, was misunderstood or resisted, leading to deeper fractures. Brooklyn also points to key moments that, in his view, caused lasting damage. Events meant to celebrate love and unity instead became sources of humiliation and hurt. He recalls feeling dismissed during important milestones and claims that attempts to address issues privately were met with conditions he found unacceptable. Over time, these experiences contributed to a growing sense of exclusion, making reconciliation feel increasingly unrealistic. His message makes it clear that the decision to speak out was not impulsive, but the result of years of internal conflict and failed efforts to resolve matters behind closed doors. What stands out most in Brooklyn's account is the emphasis on autonomy. He repeatedly returns to the idea that his life, name, and future should belong to him alone. Breaking away from a powerful family image was not easy, especially when that image has been carefully managed for decades. Yet Brooklyn suggests that living authentically required him to accept public criticism and painful misunderstandings. He acknowledges that his words may shock or disappoint many, but insists that honesty is the only path forward, even if it means accepting permanent distance. The public reaction has been intense, with opinions sharply divided. Some view Brooklyn's statement as an overdue assertion of independence, while others see it as a tragic breakdown of a once-admired family bond. The silence from his parents has only added to the tension, leaving room for speculation but also underscoring how deeply personal the situation remains. Rather than seeking sympathy, Brooklyn appears focused on clarity, drawing a firm line between his past and the life he is choosing to build now. The situation also highlights how public families face challenges that are rarely visible from the outside. Every disagreement becomes magnified, and every absence is treated as evidence of conflict. Brooklyn suggests that this constant observation made honest communication harder, not easier. When private struggles are turned into headlines, trust erodes, and meaningful dialogue becomes risky. He implies that this environment contributed to misunderstandings that spiraled beyond control, making small issues feel unfixable once they were exposed to public judgment. Brooklyn's words reflect a desire to step out of a narrative written for him since birth. Being the eldest child of two global icons came with privileges, but also with an identity that was never entirely his own. From a young age, expectations followed him into every creative pursuit, whether photography, cooking, or entrepreneurship. He hints that these pressures shaped how he was perceived within his own family, where success and image carried immense weight. Choosing a quieter, more personal definition of happiness challenged that structure, creating friction that words alone could not resolve. There is also a generational theme running through his message. Brooklyn appears to question traditional ideas of loyalty and obedience, replacing them with concepts of emotional safety and self-respect. He does not deny love for his parents, but he separates love from access, suggesting that care does not require unlimited tolerance. This distinction is at the heart of his refusal to reconcile on terms that compromise his mental health. In doing so, He aligns himself with a wider cultural shift where younger generations openly discuss boundaries without viewing them as betrayal. While the future of the Beckham family relationship remains unclear, Brooklyn's statement has already changed how the story is understood. It shifts focus away from blame and toward personal agency, even as it exposes unresolved pain. For audiences, it serves as a reminder that fame does not erase vulnerability, and that even the most admired families can struggle behind closed doors. Brooklyn's silence once protected an image, but his voice now reveals the human cost of maintaining it. Ultimately, Brooklyn presents his truth not as an attack, but as a declaration of independence. He accepts that his choice may permanently alter how he is seen, both publicly and privately. Yet he frames that risk as necessary for growth. By speaking out, he steps away from speculation and into ownership of his own story, signaling that peace, for him, comes not from reconciliation at any cost, but from living honestly, even when the outcome is uncertain. This moment may define Brooklyn's public identity more than any career move he has made so far. By choosing transparency over silence, he has shifted the conversation from gossip to personal accountability. His story resonates with anyone who has struggled to balance family expectations with personal happiness. It shows how difficult it can be to walk away from familiar structures, even when they no longer serve emotional health. In the end, Brooklyn's message is about choosing self-respect over approval, and accepting that some distances, once created, exist to protect rather than punish. As the discussion continues, his words will likely be debated, defended, and criticized, but their significance lies in the courage to speak them at all. Brooklyn has made it clear that his priority is not public opinion, but personal peace, and that decision alone marks a defining chapter in his life. The chapter closes with uncertainty, yet it opens space for healing on his own terms, proving that sometimes distance is the language people use to finally breathe, grow, and become whole at last. Now,